if it doesn't rain for a year, we have enough forage for 18 months. We have 6 months more to decide what to do. Like right now, they're getting a lot of rain and snow, so we're going to have a beautiful spring, so I'm not worried right now. They have 3,500 animals in 27,000 acres. Next one, please. A better leaf-to-stem ratio. That's one of the benefits. Another one is more tillering. Why is that? We're talking about fescue. Let's say this is a plant. And it has the seed head. These are the roots. We'll send a signal down to the crown to not produce new leaf, because it needs all the energy of the plant to produce the seed. So when you graze it off, that signal is broken, and it will produce more new leaves and shoots. That's why it's so important to take it down, and that's why a golf course looks so nice and a lot of leaves. Now that we want a golf course, because if we keep taking it down all the time, we kill the roots. We can only do that in a short time and then alternated areas. Right here. Then we get both benefits. The best animal performance in the spring and summer and fall, and the more forage for stockpile in the winter, higher quality than if it was grazed down rotationally. And we are secure that we know how many days of forage we have left if we do it properly. Let's say we have 150 days of non-growth, so we divide it in 150 allocations. That's it. Then you divide each one in 4, and you get 4 breaks a day. 8 in the morning, 10 or 11, 1 and 3. That's what I do. It's very easy. Next one. This is in Chihuahua, where I told you there were a lot of rocks. That's why bison couldn't run there, they would break their legs. That's after grazing non-selectively. So that's the correct way to do it, to heal the land with cattle. But you see there is a lot of new growth coming up. There is no bare soil. That's very important. Do not leave bare soil. Okay, next one. Oh, the stockpile will also have a better ratio of leaves to stem with this type of grazing. Not only the spring growth, but the stockpile also will have more, because when you leave old material from a selective grazing, that will not get younger with time. It will get older. So when you graze it off, it's young and new. There is less refusal. Next one, please. This is what it looks, the more tillers under non-selective grazing on Bahia Grass in Florida. I hope you can get the same result here with time. I know you can with orchard grass and many other species you have here. That's 21 days later on the same spot. So now it's lush and young and ready for grazing in that environment. Next one. That's me and that's the herd. But you see they're shiny and they are full and contented. They are not, and they are taking the grass down, but moving them frequently, 4 breaks a day. And see how the grass is taken down. I know this goes against what most people tell us to do, but this is what is working.
Where's the water for them?
We have a water troughs, Rubbermaid, like 300 gallons each, 2 of them.
They have to go back?
Yes, they need to go back. They are like over here.
For all 4 breaks during the day, they still have to go?
Oh yes, even for 4 days. That means 60 moves. Then we only move it every 4 days, because the grass doesn't regrow that fast in the late fall. We haven't gotten any frost. That's very unusual. But when we get frost, no growth, so no problem. Yes.
Would you take them back to that on 21 days after that? Is that what
you
you're
mean
saying?
In the summer, in the growing season?
In the summer, in the growing season,
yes.
when it's in your...
Florida on Bahia Grass. Here it will be different. Over there our limiting factor is quality. So if we don't go back in 21 days, that will be under 8% protein. Here you don't have that problem. Here at 40 days, you still have like 12 to 15% protein. You have to adapt the same universal principles to each specific environment. Next, please. No, grazing principles are the same in different environments. We need to adapt their application to the specific environment. So I will not tell a guy in Montana to do what I tell a guy in Maui to do, or in Canada, Manitoba, to do the same as here. It will be very bad. That's the downfall of many consultants. Environments are site-specific. Our goal is maximum utilization without letting our cattle lose, our livestock lose body condition. So anytime we see that they're starting to slide down in body condition, we need to do something. Don't allow them to go thin. That's the worst thing you can do. Even if it means sacrificing the pasture, you need the cattle to do well, because if you lose on 1 year calving, you cannot recover it. But the grass can be recovered very easy, as we already showed. So always favor the animal over the pasture. Of course, the ideal is to have both do well. And that's what we have been able to achieve, thank God, in that ranch. This is fescue, which in the summer can be toxic, but it was grazed down severely in late spring before the seed heads. So you see now it's regrowing, more leaf and no seed heads. Next one. See, there is a regrowth after grazing it non-selectively. They didn't do a perfect job, but they say they wanted to do baby steps in that ranch, so I couldn't rush them. That frustrates me, but people want to do baby steps. I think that's a big mistake. Now it's full of different species coming up, not only clover. Now clovers are coming up. But when that is ready for grazing in summer, if we bring the cows and let them selectively graze, what will they graze? The fescue or the clovers? And we end up with a fescue-dominated pasture. So to prevent that, we do this. Next one, please. That's 100 days after that grazing. Because we didn't go put the cattle in, we allow it to rest because we had taken all of the forage, and that gave us a longer recovery period, and we got red clover and very little fescue now. That's how you dilute the toxicity problem of the fescue for midsummer. Any questions on this? Nothing was planted there. That's in Missouri and the Ozarks, in Mountain View, Missouri. Next year of doing this, after that was the first year, this is on the second year of doing that, because we started in 2013, this is in 2015. Dahlia's grass, a very desirable warm season perennial, is coming back into the fescue, where before it will never had a chance, because when we rotate cows faster, selectively, they see one of these plants and they snatch it up and kill it. Then we'll again end with pure fescue. But by doing it this way, now they have a warm season grass component that will dilute further the problem of fescue. And what does fescue does in hot weather? Does it keep growing or stops growing?
It stops.
And what does a warm season perennial do in hot weather? It keeps growing. So we get much more forage production, higher stocking rates, and much more photosynthesis. CO, the leafy material. So more sugar exudates into the soil. Next one. That's the same Dahlia's grass to show the height. Yes?
I have a question while we're still talking about fescue. If I have fescue all throughout my pasture, what am I doing in the summer then if
I just showed you. Let's go back, please. Fescue grazing in the summer in the USA. Okay? In this environment, protein supplementation is not necessary, as the protein levels do not fall below 9 to 10%, even if there is snow cover. Okay? It's still green. We need frequent moves And the stockpile is required for the non-growing season, and these areas need to be alternated every year. So we start now by grazing it non-selective to take it down to the ground. Then in spring, we only graze 1/3 of the farm. If you try to graze the whole farm, this will not happen. You will end up with full seed heads. So by not allowing a seed head to be formed in that 1/3 of the farm, you keep the level of endophyte very low. And you keep a lot of leaves that enhance the soil, but also are much less toxic to cattle. Then you keep grazing here. Hopefully you already took this down and you're grazing here. Now comes summer, and you should have that if you did it properly. If you didn't do it, then no. You don't have much time now. 75 days and it's spring.
Because that middle section there that we've committed to summer has been growing now.
You need to take this down and this down. So when it's spring and summer, you keep that. If not, it will be fescue again. Yeah.
What would I do then? What would I do then if I had fescue then? In order to, as a first step of remediation.
The first thing is to have appropriate genetics, animals that are resistant to heat. Because fescue, the mechanism is that it makes the animal susceptible to heat. Mm-hmm. So when you get a hot summer, they are suffering. Mm-hmm. But dilution is the solution to toxicity. So you need to dilute it with something. The best way is with legumes that come into it and warm season perennials. If you don't have that, then you need to feed something like corn stubble or milo stalks, something that is low in protein and has no endophyte.
Hay?
But what type of hay? If it's fescue hay, no. Something that is not endophyte. Yes. Then yes. Okay, next one. Cool season grass environment, like here. Here we have mostly cool season grasses because of selective grazing. If we didn't do selective grazing, we will have a warm season grass component. But because we have allowed the animals to do mostly what they please, they kill the warm season component. At least I don't see many around here. What warm season component can you grow here? Warm season grasses that grow here? Can anyone tell me?
We have Johnson grass.
Johnson grass is one, that's a very good one. What other one?
Indian grass. Indian grass.
That's a very good one, switchgrass.
You can get Indian grass, big blue stem, little blue stem.
Did they grow here?
Easterngamagrass, yeah, you get, all of them will grow here.
Well, then I will plant the big blue stem. That's a very high production grass.
Yeah, they will grow. I mean,
Dahlia's grass, does it grow here?
Yeah.
I think this is perfect for Dahlia's grass. That's a better quality grass than the others. So better go to that one. Bermuda grass, does it grow here?
Bermuda grass.
Then go.
Pain in the ass.
Why?
Well, the common Bermuda, we're not talking about improved,
No, I love the common Bermuda.
Yeah, and yeah, I like it in the summer because it beats fescue. And so when you graze the fescue down, the Dahlia grass and the common Bermuda come on strong.
Good. Because here we're going to take a pasture walk and I couldn't find any warm season perennials. Where are you located? Lower?
Lower. We're 3 hours east of it.
Well, you have a better environment. The cool season grasses are low in fiber, high in energy, high in protein at the right stage. Did you agree with this? That's why they can be trampled down and stay down, they don't spring back up. But they can create scours if not mature enough. They require added fiber when there is not enough warm season perennial grasses in the mix, or C4. And non-selective grazing for efficient harvest and low recovery periods as quality doesn't decline as fast. They need longer recovery periods, or they can be left to recover for longer without losing quality. Where the Bahia loses the quality in 21 days, they will lose the quality in 90 days or more. So it's much easier to manage. And the fiber doesn't go up as much. Next one. This is in Ohio. This man, Peter Kiko, is doing non-selective grazing on previously farmed ground. This is the first year, and that's how he looks after grazing. He has, 63 cows on 100 acres. Yeah, they're on very good soils with cool season perennials.
Did he plant it?
Yes, he did plant it because that was corn ground like in the background.
Right.
So he did plant alfalfa, red clover, white clover, orchard grass, broom grass, and something more. But and he's just getting some warm season component, a few coming in. Yeah, that's Ohio, so they get a cold winter, but very good soil, some of the best I've seen.
The plan that you have on your drawing, right here on the board, does that allow the
Oh yeah, of course.
If you follow that plan, that will allow the rest periods, the non-selective and those rest periods, and the rotation of the paddocks would allow for the warm grasses to take hold.
Yes. If there are none in the seed bank, you will have to plant them. But if they are there, they will come up by themselves.
How long would it take to know?
The first year. Yes, in the first year. Next one. For winter grazing in Ohio, we know that what generates heat in the rumen is the fiber. So we need a high fiber, warm season component in the stockpile for the cows to do well in very cold weather, like in Ohio, because they get ice and snow.
Like Fescue.
Fescue is high fiber, but not as high as switchgrass or Johnson grass or Bermuda grass or big blue stem or Indian grass. The warm season perennials are higher in fiber and stockpiled better for winter grazing. Now, being a C4 means that they can produce up to 6 or 7 times more forage per acre with the same amount of water than a cool season grass. That's why they grow so fast in the summer. So it's good to have both. As the stockpile forage weathers or breaks down with when it's very cold and it's frozen and thawed and frozen and thawed, then the protein and energy goes down. This is very noticeable in late February, March in Manitoba. So if we don't supplement energy and protein in late winter, the cows can lose up to 3 pounds per day in a cold snap. They go down very fast. So we have to be observing manure and the cow's body condition all the time. Yes?
How do you tell when that's happening?
You look at the manure. I'm going to show a few slides so you can see manure without enough protein and manure with enough protein.
Do you do pH on the urine?
I used to do that. You can do it, but it's not trustworthy if you have acid water or too much sulfur in the water. So it will lie to you. If you want to do a lab, you can send blood to the lab to check for blood urea nitrogen, and then you can know if you have too much protein or too little protein. We need to monitor manure, the field on the left flank, and the body condition to know when to start feeding protein in those areas. Here, not much problem. Next one, please. The warm season perennials component on a cool season grass pasture. C3 means cool season. The warm season perennials are much more water efficient and have deeper roots, so can continue producing in a summer drought. When the fescue stops growing, they will keep producing. That's why we want them. They contribute for a much higher dry matter production per acre, which equals a higher stocking rate. Total profitability is enhanced by having them. That's why this type of grazing is so important. And they require longer rest to establish and be productive under this environment. Let's say we hit late March and fescue starts to grow like crazy, and this seedling of the best warm season perennial, Dahlia grass, sprouts. This is this small and the fescue is this high because it's cold. Then comes summer and we bring the cows in and this keeps growing, but they will eat this and leave the fescue. So we never get a warm season component. So we need to change our grazing management to allow it to grow, produce seed, and then we have more seed for next year, and we do it with this strategy. Next one. That's in Ohio, that's one warm season perennial coming into the established cool season grasses. I don't know what it is. Don't ask me, I don't know. But it maybe switchgrass, I'm not sure. Maybe Johnson grass or maybe something else. I don't know. No, it wasn't Johnson grass. I pulled it up. No rhizomes. No. Next one. Tall grazing. Continuous tall grazing shades out the growing points. And we're going to see that when we go out. If you always keep the grass tall, the shade will kill the growing points in the plants after the second year, not the first year. The second year, you're going to start to see that. And I have seen it on my travels. If we always leave the grass tall, the growing points may die due to the shade for too long. When we graze non-selectively, the growing points are exposed to sunlight because we graze it off, so sunlight can penetrate. And the plants still are more like a mowed lawn. But unlike the mowed lawn, when we come back very soon, we allow it to grow taller. This allows for a better leaf to stem ratio, which we already know produces more photosynthesis and more root exudates into the soil. This produces a much higher energy source and more carbon being returned to the soil, as the exudates feed the bacteria in the soil when photosynthesis is enhanced. A grass plant, let's say a Bermuda grass plant, if you graze it selectively, they will leave a lot of stems and take the leaves. And the stem will continue the respiration process, so the leaves that come up will be lower in energy and much less percentage or amount of leaf per square yard. And that can be measured. It's very easy. Yes?
If it's grass is decent height, then they come and eat the 4 inches off of it. So the highest energy point.
The what?
Well, highest energy.
Okay.
So now there's still 8-10 inches, but it's
Trampled.
trampled a little bit, and the stuff at the top is being eaten off. Now the sun can hit this other piece? Will the sugar pick up in there, or will it always be that same energy level?
Did it produce a seed head or not?
No.
It didn't produce a seed head? No seed head, and how did you achieve this for them to graze the top 4 inches and not some plants down to the ground and others left on top?
I kept them there for a little while.
Like how long?
An hour and 2 hours.
So you move them every hour?
I feed them hay, and then as they ran out of grass,
Have you actually been able to do that they only eat the top 4 inches?
On the new stuff, yeah.
I only seen that once in my lifetime. And I was amazed.
And they stop. After that, they stop.
Well, explain it. We're still doing fencing, so they're in a permanent pasture. It's 30 girls. They're in a pasture. They're out of grass. We give them hay in the morning to get them going, and then we let them out into a very tight, just enough for 30 girls really to stand. Let them eat. They'll take that first bite. We're watching them. It takes them about an hour or so. We bring them back in. So that's...
Oh, okay. That's not normal.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, what's the question?
Will if in a week or two, if the sun is hitting
In a few hours.
high energy,
In a few hours.
it will. Okay.
Yeah, but that will deplenish the root reserves.
Yeah.
Because you're regrazing before its energy is in a positive balance.
Now, if you have just nothing but fescue, and I want that to diminish a little bit and then put other seeds in there, that'd be okay?
You want to kill the fescue.
Well, we want to share the soil with other seeds.
Yeah, you want to, okay. I never thought about that way because that's impossible to do in a commercial scale. So I don't know. Let me think about it. This is the effect of the shade on the growing points on a clump grass that is Easterngamagrass. This is in near Dallas, Texas, west of Dallas, on the Dixon Water Foundation Ranch. And all the growing points in the center of the clump died from when the grass was taller and it was shaded out. So the way to regenerate that is to start grazing this way. Then that won't happen. And then we can have more tillering instead of dead centers of the clump. If you pull this shoot off, it will break and the roots are very shallow and you smell it and it smells of rot and decay.
Really?
Oh yeah. And we're going to see it here where they have the chip, and you can pull the grass up and see what's beneath, the dead points. You can smell it, root and decay, the same. For non-selective grazing, it is desirable to have high relative intake animals with a big rumen, because that's the fermentation vat where all the microorganisms that the soil needs are being reproduced. A big rumen means that they can eat more per hundredweight. That leaves more energy to put back into production. So we have higher fertility, better body condition, without having to supplement as much. Next one. That's a good Angus bull. That's how they should look like. Masculinity and also a big rumen and high mobility. Not those show animals that cannot walk and fluffy tails and shampoo and hair blower. No.
Is that your bull?
No, I wish. That's the ranch that I'm consulting for.
Yeah, he's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Next one. Now we can come to a situation where we have high density, but not high enough. High density that the cows can trample, urinate, and defecate the grass before eating it. That means it's high, but not high enough, because our harvest efficiency will not be as high, and we will need to come back sooner. Coming back sooner, we already know what happens. They take the best species first. Also, their dragging of the hoofs. When they step on a manure pile and then they walk, they spread it, and then they don't eat that. So when we give them 4 breaks a day, it is very important that it's 4, because they graze for an hour and a half, more or less, then they lay down to chew their cud. Then when you come back in 2 hours, they all stand up, and the first thing they do, drop the load. Then you give them the fresh break, and they don't drop loads, they eat.
So you're saying every 2 hours?
Yes, on the average.
And then they spend the night somewhere.
Excuse me?
And then they spend the night somewhere.
Right there, waiting for me. And in the morning they get up and deposit more manure.
But they're going to stay there for hours.
They're going to stay there, yeah. They want to be the first one in line, so they don't go anywhere. They go to drink water in 1 or 2, they drink water and come back. They don't spend time in the water point. So all the manure distribution is there, in the fresh break. So they avoid grazing where it smells bad or is fouled, and this reduces the quantity, quality of forage on offer and diminishes grazing efficiency. And we do this for the benefit of the livestock, because by moving them more frequently, they have a better balance of forage coming into the rumen. So it's always the same quality, and the rumen microorganisms, which are composed of 4 or 5 different groups, they can keep the ratios better to be more efficient at digestion. Yes?
Would you make your paddocks more long and narrow so they have trampled more?
No, I want harvest efficiency, not trample efficiency. It's like if you had corn, would you trample it or harvest it?
Well, if I didn't have enough density and I wanted impact.
Why don't you have enough density?
Well, that's what this one's saying. High density, but not enough density.
No, oh, okay. No, what you do there, you give them a smaller break and more frequent moves.
Well, it's just not the shape, but the
Right, the area is what creates density. So many animals per square yard, or so many square yards per animal. You can do it with one animal, you can do it with 10,000 animals. It's the same principle. Yeah. I couldn't understand that at first. I was with the paradigm that the larger the herd, the more impact. It's not so. I'm going to show pictures. Next one, please. This is 1 move per day on low quality grass high in fiber. That's Bahia Grass in Florida. I tried to do that in 2013. That's the result. So I couldn't get them to graze the top third. They were grazing some plants down to the ground and some they didn't touch. Next one. So I went to 2 moves per day. That's the result. Some plants down to the ground, some plants they didn't touch. That's not conducive to more solar panel or more, because this next time around, this will be too old, they will not graze it, and they will regraze this. That's not what we want.
And the other stuff will shade the stuff.
Eventually, yes. It will get old and decay and oxidize. Oxidize is the opposite of photosynthesis. We're losing carbon dioxide to the atmosphere instead of capturing it into humus in the soil. Oxidation is very bad. We need to stop that. Next one. That's a winter and annual pasture. They're in Florida, and we'll calving there. So when you calve into mature green grass instead of lush green grass, you have much less calving problems. Next. That's a new baby there. That's how good manure looks like. Somebody asked me, how do I know the protein? That's enough protein, very well digested.
So harder is too much, runnier is not enough?
That's perfect. Now I'm going to show not enough in Montana. Next one.
But when you have different seasons and you have to switch, then you're going to have that, right? I mean, the manure is going to change.
Yes. Yes.
I can't always have that.
No, nobody can.
Okay.
That's in the growing season.
That's our ideal.
Yeah, nobody can have perfect manure year round, but we can all have perfect digestion year round. And you have to use your chew to break it open and see the pieces of undigested fiber. You see the first batch in the animal is the rumen. So the fiber gets digested there or doesn't get digested at all. And it's only 6 to 8 hours. So whatever is not digested there goes into the next stomach without being digested and goes out in the manure. And you can observe it. This is manure stocking up due to low protein. That's in Montana. So we can see pieces of fiber that are not degraded. That means we were lacking protein in this situation, yes?
So what would you supplement to help balance out the low protein?
This is after supplementing them with 6 pounds of alfalfa per steer per day. We are feeding it right there. There were 800 steers in Billings, Montana in August. Next one, please. And this is how the manure looked next day. And the alfalfa was 2-year-old. So the manure improved and the animals improved in the field. And because they were stockers and they were going to be sold, that's very important.
So you grew that alfalfa for 2 years?
No, it was 2-year-old. When they made it into hay, till we used it, it was 2 years old. So it was not very high quality, but it was very cheap, so we used it. Here we are grazing in the growing season, the Bahia Grass. Next one. Alternating the areas. In the growing season, we manage for quality on 1/3 to 1/2 of the ranch, depending on the year and the rainfall and the temperatures. We save for stockpile the other 2/3 to 1/2 of the ranch to have forage for strip grazing in the non-growing season. And when the forage in the graze area is finished, we start on the deferred area with ultra-high density grazing, here. And we alternate these 2 areas every year. That's in Florida here, 3 areas, because you have 2 growing seasons, spring and fall. In Florida, we only have 1, summer. If we don't alternate those areas every year, we end up with always tall grazing a portion of the ranch and killing the growing points, and always grazing short another portion of the ranch and killing the roots.
Say again, where does fall go in that? What do they do in the fall?
They will come to this, all this.
Oh,
Summer
spring
and spring.
ends and.
Yeah.
So then your grazing areas would get,
So you come twice or more than twice here. More than twice, yeah. And here only once.
would you change the size of the paddocks when you were grazing that whole thing, or would you still just break it into the number of days that you had and?
The number of days is here in the winter. You do strip grazing. You put a long, and then you make very small strips. This is where you ration. Here you don't ration. You keep quality high by coming back sooner.
Jim, when you did your spring there, you were doing non-selective grazing.
Yes.
And when that grass grew back and was very high quality, you grazed it again.
Yes.
Leaving the summer to grow.
Yes.
And then in the summer, you move into that.
Yes.
And then in the fall, you're not going to just allow them to have the whole area.
No.
You're going to still continue.
Because growth in the fall is like half or a third of the spring.
1/3.
You need to use all larger areas.
Okay.
Yes. Even the stockpile areas, doing it this way, taking it down all the way, will have a better leaf to stem ratio, and all the forage will be fresh, will be that years, not 2 or 3 years old, as they were subjected to non-selective grazing the previous growing season. By allowing them to grow for a full growing season, the plant density will be higher because it was taken down and it tillered, and it's not old to where the growing points start to die, and the species composition will be better because they all need to compete at the same level. Yes.
Is this all seed bank or are you drilling anything?
No, this is all seed bank. I'm going to talk about drilling in the next, yes, which is another very important alternative. The full reset area becomes a magnet for wildlife, increasing biodiversity, because you have all your cows here for the spring, summer, and fall, and you don't go in here. This is full of wildlife. That's very important for nesting birds or for endangered species, or even for turkey and deer, for everything. We have some Jaguarundi coming to the farm when we started doing this, and they stay here. Jaguarundi is the otter cat. It's like a, what do you call a puma here? It's like a panther, a small panther. They are supposed not to live in Florida, but they are there.